As Naruto was ready to crawl out of a bed that wasn't her own, she mused on her current situation. Here she was, having been taken home by a boy whom she had been attracted to ever since she had decided boys weren't wholly icky. She had slept in that boy's bed, and somehow, romance was the furthest thing from her mind right now. Sasuke wasn't in the room. He had dragged his extra mattress out of the bedroom and slept in the living room, which doubled as a kitchen. Having just woken up, her first instinct was to wash herself and put on clean clothes, especially considering her neglect of herself these past few days. Of course, she didn't have any clean clothes with her, and she didn't even know where the bathroom was, and so, feeling just a little bit self-conscious about her disheveled state, she met Sasuke in the other room. He was already seated at a table that, like Sasuke had promised the night before, had a massive breakfast prepared. Sasuke looked at her like he had been sitting there, waiting for her to show up. "Morning," he said. "Good morning," she said. "And thank you, I was wasting my time training as I was." Sasuke gave his trademark humming sound and motioned for her to take a seat. "I can't actually stay with you to help you train for long. I've got my own schedule with Kakashi." "I understand," Naruto said, though she couldn't help but feel disappointed. Sasuke was one of the strongest people she knew, and having him as a training partner would have helped immensely. "There's something I don't understand though," Sasuke said. "Oh?" Naruto motioned for him to continue. "You're obviously worried you're not strong enough to kill Gaara. Yet when talking about your strength, I can't help but wonder about the strength you showed when you crushed Tamari." "Oh." And she told him about the Ninetales. "I can't exactly call upon that power at will." After some time, Sasuke said, "I had no idea you were keeping that kind of secret." "I haven't exactly been keeping it a secret, I just thought it wasn't worth mentioning is all." Her excuse sounded lame even to her own ears. "I don't see why you'd want to keep it a secret," Sasuke said. "Some people just don't like me because of it," Naruto said. "My only thought on it is whether I can obtain a similar power for myself. Screw what everyone else thinks, it's obviously useful." "I don't know," Naruto said. "There are 9-tailed beasts distributed among the ninja villages. The Ninetales is the only one Konoha has. You'd have to steal one from the other villages, which would be difficult." That, Naruto knew, was a massive understatement. "Regardless, if I had access to a power like that, I would not rest until I had made it mine," Sasuke said. After he said it, he almost went to touch the curse mark on his neck. "I've been forbidden from experimenting with it." "And you intend to listen? You'll have to decide whether that command is more important to you than your vengeance." Naruto let that sink in for a while. "If I may ask, why do you need to kill someone?" Sasuke debated with himself for a short time, and then he told her everything. Naruto tried to imagine it, to lose every person who was important to you except one, the one who was responsible for it all. What if, without any warning at all, Sakura had been the one to kill Ino? Naruto couldn't imagine it. Her mind recoiled from the very idea, but she suspected she wouldn't want to be alive anymore if such a thing had happened. "You're a stronger person than I," she said, not referring to his actual skills. "I wish it didn't have to be." They ate in silence after that, each taking a small bit of comfort in being in the presence of one who understood a little of what the other was and was still going through. Each went their respective ways afterwards. Sasuke to train with Kakashi, Naruto to return to her own apartment, to clean herself up and then to see if she could somehow draw upon the demon's power within her. It had taken a week before Sakura could muster the will to care about her own upcoming match against Hinata, where she had to show what it took to become a Chunin. Thing was, Sakura herself didn't even believe she had what it took to become a Chunin. She was probably the weakest of all the remaining contestants and was very much aware of it. She had her Genjutsu clones, but that was all she had, and Hinata wasn't going to fall for that, She probably wouldn't have fallen for it even if she hadn't seen it before. And how crazy was it that Sakura was nervous about fighting Hinata, of all people? Hinata had always been shy and gentle, and even when she beat you in a spar, she was always respectful, polite, and even outright apologetic about it. They weren't close, but Sakura had liked Hinata. Her shyness reminded her of herself when she first started the academy. The Hinata that she remembered, however, wouldn't have been able to do what she did in the preliminaries. Sakura recalled the cold look in Hinata's eyes when she used the Hyuga Cursed Seal on Neji, how she almost seemed to relish in it. The Hinata Sakura remembered wouldn't have been able to do that. Even if she was likely going to lose, Sakura wouldn't have felt nervous about fighting the old Hinata. She had no idea what to make of this new Hinata. Anyway, Sakura thought a good place to start would be to ask advice of someone a lot more knowledgeable about the Gentle Fist than her. Someone whom, Sakura suspected, wanted Hinata to lose in the coming match. "I think I can guess why you're here," Tenten told her when she came to Team 9's regular training ground. "I'm sorry for disturbing you, but I didn't know who better to go to," Sakura said. "You should know that neither Lee nor I can actually beat Neji," Tenten said and scowled. "I still can't believe neither Lee nor Neji are in the finals, and I am. I'm not bad, but both of them are better than me, and I know it. Yet I'm in the finals. The finals where the best are supposed to be. It's crazy!" "I'm sorry," Sakura said. She too didn't feel like she really belonged in the finals. "Don't be. What you did to Lee was a legitimate tactic. You exploited one of his weak points and I can hardly fault you for that. What Hinata did though, I still can't believe they let her get away with it." Sakura hummed in agreement. Hinata hadn't technically broken any rules, but Sakura felt a lot less positively inclined towards rules than she usually did. The rules had allowed several genin, many of them very young like herself, to die in the second task. That one rain ninja that Gaara had killed wasn't the only one. Sakura had done some research and there were several other deaths in the forest. One of them, a girl no older than herself by the name of Karin, who had been eaten by a giant bear, with only broken glasses and a bloody torn off arm left to identify her. How could any of the adults look at this and think that this was okay? The rules had allowed Gaara to murder one of her best friends. The rules allowed both Gaara and Naruto to try and publicly murder each other in the finals. The worst part of it was that the main reason for these exams wasn't for them at all. According to the Hokage, it was also that the villagers could show off the most promising upcoming ninja to the world, and any potential clients. So they could flex their strength at their neighbors without actually going to war. Ino had risked and lost her life for what was essentially one huge marketing stunt. Sakura understood the logic behind it all, but damn it, people were dead. Ino was dead. Yet another reason why Sakura had waited this long to start preparing for her next match was that it had taken this long for Sakura to decide she wasn't going to just not show up for the finals. Because screw these so-called exams! Sakura still didn't fully understand why she was going through with it. Too much pride, she supposed. Anyway, do keep that in mind when you ask us for Gentle Fist countermeasures. Neither Lee nor I know how to actually beat the Gentle Fist. I understand, Sakura said. Where is Lee? She saw Neji, but not Lee. After you beat him, he's been mixing his daily routine with Genjutsu countermeasures. Right now he's running laps through Konoha while continuously disrupting his own chakra. But wouldn't that deplete his chakra reserves, like, really quickly? Sakura wondered. Most learn to defend themselves from Genjutsu by learning to recognize it. This brute force method that Lee was trying didn't seem very cost effective. Tenten gaped at her in wonder. She had the look of a woman who was starved for sanity encountering such in way too long. Sakura, can I please call you my friend? Sure, Sakura agreed readily enough. Tenten, like her, was a girl who didn't come from any special clan with special clan jutsus, or without any bloodline traits, or an unfair amount of natural talent. So Sakura did feel a bit of a kinship with her. Alright, thank you. Now let's go talk to Neji. He could probably tell you way more than me, and you should have a good reason for wanting to help you against Hinata. Neji was practicing by himself, but even Sakura could tell that something seemed off about it. He was still fast and his movements were as fluid as ever, and yet it seemed like it lacked energy. Not quite lethargic, but something close to it. He paused when Tenten approached with Sakura, and he listened dispassionately to Tenten asking for his help on Sakura's behalf. Neji's face stayed emotionless as he spoke. Hinata-sama is part of the Hyuga main branch family, and I am part of the side branch. It is not my place to get in her way. And he started to walk away. Tenten had a pained expression as she watched Neji leave. Then she turned to Sakura and had a fierce scowl on her face. Her hands were formed into claws and they seemed to be wringing an invisible person's neck. What I wouldn't give to trade places with you. I'd love to teach that bitch a lesson for what she did to Neji. Tenten put her hands on Sakura's shoulders. Listen, you absolutely must not lose your match against that girl, you hear me? I'll do what I can, Sakura promised. She still didn't have an actual strategy to have a chance of winning though. Naruto was in an isolated clearing, far away from the village proper. This wasn't an official training ground, which lowered the chance of someone spotting her. She had her eyes closed and was trying to summon the same feeling of hate and pain that had caused her to draw on the Kyuubi's chakra before. She hoped this didn't have some strange condition of she could only call upon this power in dire need or when she was in actual danger, because that would complicate matters. Her teeth were gritted and tears had started to roll down her cheeks as she focused on both the source of her pain and anger. There was still nothing, no sudden bursts of power like she had experienced in the preliminaries. Come on, what's the point of having a Jinchuriki when they can't even use their demon's power? She thought. She began to wildly attack the trees around her in an effort to add even more adrenaline and aggression to the torrent of emotions she was wallowing in. Still nothing. Damn it, Kyuubi, I need your strength! She thought desperately. She closed her eyes and roared all her emotions to the heavens.
Alright, you have my attention.
She heard a deep growling voice in her head. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the clearing, but within what looked like a hallway in an underground sewer. Naruto could guess what she'd find at the end of this hallway. She tried to calm herself. Naruto hadn't expected that she'd actually need to negotiate with the Kyuubi in person, but it was what it was. After calming down her emotions from her earlier attempts to summon the Kyuubi's power, she started walking forward. Her shoes made splashing sounds on the wet floor, which echoed down the hallway. She heard the Kyuubi before she saw him. The sound of his breathing alone was loud enough that she could hear it from far away. There were several branching pathways, but the water on the floor flowed in a certain direction, and she somehow knew that she just needed to follow the flow down to its source. Eventually, she saw a faint red light at the end of the tunnel, and she knew she had reached her destination. She arrived at an area that was larger than anything she had ever seen before that wasn't the outdoors. The roof of the room she was in was at least twice the length of the Hokage's tower, which was the tallest building in Konoha. At the opposite end of the entrance from where she had come, she found large metal pillars, bars she realized, beyond which she could see nothing except the red glow from earlier. It should be impossible for something to glow so strongly, yet still be covered in darkness. And yet it was so. And the water on the floor was also clearly coming from beyond the bars. The bars were wide enough for her to just walk through, and in the middle there was one flat metal pillar with a large seal attached to it. This is probably a really bad idea, Naruto thought to herself. Then she remembered why she needed the power that could be found here. She had used it before, it wasn't impossible. She breathed in deeply and shouted, "Ninetales, show yourself!" No response. "I'm not dumb enough to walk through those metal bars, so you might as well show up." A rumble, and then Naruto nearly fell on the ground when a massive paw stepped into view and set the ground shaking with the casual movement. Naruto looked up, and up, and up, and then she saw him for the first time. His crimson fur glowed softly, and it was obvious that he was the source of the light. Its eyes glowed much more strongly than the fur and regarded her. The look and the face it was attached to seemed hostile, but Naruto admitted that she wouldn't know how to judge such an inhuman face.
And so I finally get to meet my latest jailer.
The Kyuubi's deep voice rumbled. Again, the room seemed to shake a little purely from the force of its voice. As he spoke, Naruto felt the warm breath of the Kyuubi wash over her. The beast's words reminded Naruto that this thing had known her mother, but she banished those thoughts from her mind. She wasn't here to reminisce with the demon fox of all things. "Do you know why I am here?" Naruto asked, and she found that her own voice sounded pathetically small and weak compared to the Kyuubi's.
Of course. I am always watching you, boring as you are. I am afforded little other sources of entertainment. You are here because you want to kill Gaara of the desert, the jailer of Shikaku, the one-tailed sand demon. Coincidentally, my little brother.
Gaara is a Jinchuriki like me? Naruto thought. That was news to her. The idea that she might have anything in common with Ino's murderer made her feel dirty. "Are you willing to help me?" Naruto asked. "I don't think I stand much of a chance without you." That admission seemed to please him, or amuse him. It was hard to tell.
You're right. You're unlikely to even survive your next encounter with Gaara without my help, let alone manage to actually kill him.
"So will you help me? Please?"
Why should I?
The Kyuubi asked, sounding disinterested. "You helped me before, back in the preliminaries against Tamari."
That was unexpected.
The Kyuubi admitted.
Your rage matched my own, so you drew on my power without my help.
The Kyuubi offered her a smile full of teeth that were all as large as she was tall.
It will not happen again. From now on, if you want my power, you must have my consent. Hate alone will no longer suffice.
"Please, I need your help."
Again, why should I?
Naruto thought about it and eventually came up with something that might convince even an evil demon fox. "I'm going to fight Gaara, and as you say, I'm unlikely to survive if you don't help me. What will happen to you then?"
An unpleasant prospect, to be sure.
The Kyuubi admitted.
I will help you, but I want something in return.
"I am not promising to set him free," Naruto thought to herself. "What is it?"
If you're going to use my powers, you will learn to wield them properly. In the time between now and the finals, you will practice drawing on and using my powers whenever possible.
Is that all? Naruto thought. Practicing could only help her as well. "Gladly," she answered. The Kyuubi smiled that sharp tooth-filled smile again, and somehow Naruto's instincts were screaming at her that she was making a huge mistake. That she was in danger. "I need his power. Without it, Gaara will live on to kill who knows how many innocent people." Naruto clung to that thought.
Try and use your rage to summon my power again. I think you'll find you'll be having an easier time of it from now on.
And that's where we're going to leave things for now. Nikes out.